Marc Johnson, everybody, one of the greatest to ever do it. MJ has blessed skateboarding with his signature style, creativity, and technical ability for almost 30 years. On top of that, his well-documented debauchery, shenanigans, and skit enthusiasm has created a recipe for some of the most entertaining video parts of all time. I was watching his part in Pretty Sweet the other day and came to the realization that this is the last full part from Marc Johnson since 2012. That's right, it's been 13 freaking years since we've seen the boldest man in skateboarding drop a video part, and I started to wonder about what other MJ footage I've missed out on over the years. Anything pre-Yeah Right is a bit hazy in my skate memory wank bank, so I thought it was long overdue that I take a deep dive into MJ's skateboard portfolio. Come join me as I take a look back on every Marc Johnson video part and see if I can answer such questions as, has he always looked that good on a skateboard? Did he ever have hair? And what weird shenanigans was he pulling in the 90s? This is Marc Johnson's body of work in skateboarding. Chronologically, the earliest MJ part the internet has to offer is his Sponsor Me tape footage from 1993. This is a bunch of unused footage that Chris Roberts put together in 2015, which dropped on their homie project, the Back 40. The MJ antics that we've all come to love were already in full swing right here in 93. There's skullduggery littered throughout the part, and the song choice elevates the 3 minutes of skating into a really fun piece to go back and watch. A very young MJ who still looks at least 35 starts this video part with a premonition of what's to come later in his skateboarding career. Absolute fire. However, he hasn't quite caught a light just yet. This early 90s footage contains some real stinkers, and the spots consist solely of curbs and parking lot bumps. He seems pretty capable of flipping his board in all stances, and does some pretty damn hard tricks. Look how good this fakie 5-0 flip out is. The boy's good, that's for sure. His style is rough though, and he's not quite the polished skate specimen he became. MJ's real debut came all the way back in 1994 in Maple's Rites of Passage. And yep, holy shit, MJ did used to have hair. What a world the 90s was. This part is actually pretty fucking good. He clearly has a real good understanding of how to flip his board, and to say he is ahead of his time is an understatement. In fact, he was so far ahead of his time he had his Slim Shady phase 6 years before Eminem dropped his first LP. The clips are quickly cut to a fast, thrashy punk song, which keeps the energy of the edit high, and the tone of the music matches the unpolished skate clips. The overall production is a bit rough, but it was 1994, so I'll cut it some slack. There's a horrendous opening heel flip to begin the opening line, but for the most part there's some really good skating. He does some real nice scoopy trays, a bunch of manny tricks, and some pretty damn hard ledge tricks, as well as getting some clips on banks and gaps to make a well-rounded video part. He does look a bit too stiff on his board, but you can see his style beginning to take shape. It ain't quite there yet though. There's some really ugly squatting going on before he pops his tricks. Sometimes it looks like he's skating with a pole shoved up his ass, but in contrast, he makes some awesome shapes when he stomps some tricks, and for the most part doesn't look half bad on his board. He has a good switch push, I'll give him that. Almost everyone in the 90s pushed switch mongo, so props for early switch pushing. I do like switch mongo if done well, but if not, then it's awful. This part is chock full of tricks and ends strong with a flip backside 5-0 down a handrail. Overall, MJ ripped pretty hard and sure as hell came out swinging in his inauguration. A year later, MJ dropped 2 more parts, the first of which is in the Maple promo. MJ has really found his feet a year later. His skating is still a bit rigid, but he looks so much better on his board now. The part starts out with another line. He's pushing fast and looks like he's loving every second on that skateboard. His prolonged squat before tricks doesn't bother me so much in this part. He's definitely found some more balance between preparing for a trick and taking a shit while riding a skateboard. Unfortunately, in this video part, the only sound you can hear is the song playing. There's no audio from the original footage, meaning that there are no sounds of skateboarding in this. No screeching wheels, no grinding trucks, and no background whoops. Watching skating and not hearing the sound of those screechy wheels just kind of feels wrong. The only sounds come from the song, which is another thrashy punk number. The part's made up of a lot of lines and a few single clips before ending with a handful of handrail and hover tricks, with a switch 180 over a handrail into a bank end in the part, which all in all makes up a tight 2 minutes of early 90s skating. MJ's other part of 1995 is in the Etnies High Five video. MJ gets a short but incredibly sweet 1 minute 20 of skating to the Sundays. This video is definitely worth a visit if you want to see all your favorite retro rippers just as they hit puberty. Etnies High Five is actually the first skate video made by a shoe brand. It's a heavy lineup featuring Jamie Thomas, Smolik, and Penny to mention a few in this promo style video. Unfortunately, MJ's part appears to be partially filmed through a telescope from a nearby pirate ship, which is a shame. Although the part is short, it is arguably better than his last two. There are some gnarlier tricks and his style is really cleaning up. The trick selection is good and the execution is looking great in some clips. This is MJ's first video part where the song choice really makes an impact on the overall feel of the part. The beautiful skating and the chick flick soundtrack work great together to hit you right in the feels. This really feels like the foundation of the MJ masterpieces we get in years to come. 1996 was a productive year in MJ's early career with him dropping 3 video parts. He starts out strong with the closing section in Maple's 7 Steps to Heaven. The 6-minute, 2-song video part is pretty stacked full of heavy tricks. He's jumping on handrails, killing ledges, teching manis, and jumping down double sets. The song choice of Lee Hazelwood and secondly Nina Simone make up a very original and ahead of its time edit. The slow-mo sections of the first part bring a well thought out concept into reality. There's a jarring intermission between songs which is kinda weird but in keeping with the originality of the part.
And how she gave me life. In the morning, when the moon is at its rest, you will find me at the time.
The skating is super clean, I have no beef with his style anymore, and his enders are pretty fucking solid. Flip back tail down a handrail? Jeez! This avant-garde video part wraps up with MJ covered in shaving foam swinging his junk around, which makes for the first on-screen MJ antics we get to see. Next that year, MJ has the opening part in Transworld's Uno. The edit lacks the same quality and attention to detail as his previous part and takes a more formulaic direction. That doesn't mean it's not worth a watch though. The first 2 opening lines begin the part slowly before getting vamped up into a fast-paced 2 minutes of skateboarding. He skates to a hillbilly rock song that fits the pace.
Old man on the back porch, old man on the back porch, old man on the back porch, and that's
The skating is not quite to the same caliber as his 7 Steps to Heaven part, but it makes for an entertaining watch. There's some absolute gold in this video, so it's definitely another one to add to your watch list if you haven't already. Finally, in 1996, MJ dropped 4 minutes in the NC montage. It's a pretty stacked offering. It's not quite as fun or thought out as his other parts that year, but sure as hell ain't bad. The song choice is kinda average, but it works well with fitting that much skateboarding into the part. There are even a couple of clips of him not wearing khaki chinos, which makes a change. The high 8 cam is starting to make me feel a little bit queasy, but he sure as hell looks good in those Americas. And speaking of America, that takes us nicely along to his 1997 part in America's Yellow. I was vaguely aware that this video existed, and it's interesting to finally see the roots of America's beginnings. Marc's part falls third from last and starts out with some 1-foot roller skate action before firing things off with a nollie heel front lip and then mirrors it with a nollie flip backside lip. He then rifles off a few more tricks on the same spot. This time, Marc skates to a Bowie song which starts out slow and dramatic and ends fast. There's a couple of lines that are a bit too long and kill the pace a little bit, but there is a really long schoolyard line which is sick, but it does have an indie street grab in it. That's pretty illegal, but you know what? I kinda like it. MJ does some really beautiful tricks in this part, but then he also does a couple like this, which detract from the overall quality of the video part. The repeated spots throughout his parts is definitely starting to show, and the tricks are starting to get a little repetitive, but now I'm just nitpicking. Moving on, MJ dropped a 411 profiles in issue number 20. We get a splattering of MJ doing weird things throughout the part, and he's got some good voiceover where he introduces himself and states his sponsors.
Hello, my name is Marc Johnsonson, and this is my profile.
Later on in the part, we get some life advice, and he also tells us he's 19 at the time. I knew he must have been young in this era, but I just kind of assumed MJ was born at age 38 with a cigarette in his mouth. This is probably my favorite MJ part so far. The filming is notably the best so far, the song works well with Marc's technical skating, and he's owning that signature style in this part. The edit and filming are super tidy, which creates some well presented 90s skateboarding at its best. Finally that year, MJ drops another 411 part in the Best of Volume 4. This part tops the last with some really impressive stuff and some well thought out trick selection. The alternative Crying Alone at 3 AM music backing is great, and the edit is super tight to the music. The song drops, and so do some beautifully carried out hammers. The 270 cab back tails are a personal favorite. This is another video part which punches me right in the soft spot and makes me feel like a giddy schoolgirl. MJ gets some notably super clean footage in Rodney vs. Day 1 Round 2, which is a sign of things to come in the next decade. But for the next full part, we have to go to 2000, where he drops another 2 solid video parts. He starts the millennium off strong, and he comes out swinging in Transworld's Modest Operandi. And if I'm not mistaken, this is his first time working with Ty Evans. Ty and Marc is one of skateboarding's greatest pairings, and fucking hell did they get off to a good start with this one. We first see MJ in a white suit with some voiceover of him talking about some jockey and a kickflip for the first time, before he gets into some skate philosophy. I'll let the impact this part makes speak for itself and play you the first bit. I'd play the whole thing, but I don't want a copyright infringement.
Kickflip, that was the trick, you know, like this is something you never thought possible, and you saw it, and it was like, I can't believe it. It's possible. But the craziest thing about skateboarding is you can say, what if? You can say, what if I could do this? You know, I think I could probably do this, and you can do it. You can go do it. You can take something that was just pure thought, and you can make it reality, because that's just the way it is, you know?
MJ really refines his skating, and some of the spots he gets clips on are really cool, like this switch 180 Manny pop over the gap backside to switch Manny spot. I can't say I'm a huge fan of the nollie heel backside nose grind ender, but the front side nose slide he does down the handrail in the clip before looks better than a hub of wheels ad. The quality of the filming really takes a step forward, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time we see MJ through the lens of a VX1000. The part is edited really well to the song, and the song is the icing on the cake. This part is vintage gold dust. The extra production value and the incredible pairing of filmmaker and skateboarder shine through to make this the first polished masterpiece skate part in MJ's career. This part belongs in a fucking art gallery. His second part in 2000 is in NC Clothing's Tilt Mode. NC Clothing is from the San Jose skate shop of the same name, and is the first video offerings of the infamous Tilt Mode army. This video will have you smiling from start to finish. It's a huge step away from MJ's 90s skate parts and solidifies the evolution and advancement of the cameras, personal computers editing software, as well as skateboarding manufacturers to all come together to create high quality skate video media. There's some more Marc antics to kick things off as the skating fades in from black to start things off with a line that's very well thought out. This part is another beauty. MJ picked another song that makes you want to cry in a Midwest parking lot at 3 a.m., but it just works so well.
We dive deep into the past. Take this chance with me.
The part flows super nicely and the pace is just right. There's a line in a Land Rover showroom that stands out a lot, and there's a lot of unique technical trick selection. The part closes out the video, and yet again it's another video you should go watch. The following year, the Tilt Mode Army crew blesses skateboarding with another video, titled Man Down. This video is drenched in homey vibes and will make your heart go all gooey. You can tell the guys are having the best time making this video from start to finish. MJ gets the curtains again and has most definitely caught fire, and nothing is going to put him out. He's still doing the same tricks he's done since the 90s, but man does he make them look good. The Rolling Stones song is another great choice.
I've been hanging out so long, I've been sleeping all alone. Lord, I miss you.
The filming's good, the spot selection's good, the B-roll antics are done just right. It doesn't even look like he's trying that hard, and he's getting great clips. His sense of fun really comes through in every part, but it just feels more and more infectious as the parts go on. The next year rolls by and MJ told the Enjoy boys he's too good for them and got on Chocolate, which begins the incredible combination of Marc Johnsonson times Spike Jonze times Ty Evans. The next few video parts we get from MJ under the Crail Tap umbrella is more epic than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Let's kick things off and press play on one of the greatest video parts of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Marc Johnsonson in Girls Yeah Right. Greatness is made with MJ's spontaneous antics, technical ability, and unique approach to skateboarding. Collabing with Spike Jonze's skits and can-do attitude, all coming together with Ty Evans' vision and talent behind the lens. They grace the world and even the universe with this part. Even the aliens on Mars have appreciated this part. When someone says Marc Johnsonson, this opening scene is immediately what I think of. MJ in that trench coat fucking around in Hollywood. Then there's that Joy Division song. I swear MJ got the whole skate community listening to Joy Division. The song is incredible and couldn't have been skated to better by anyone else. MJ's style seems to have got even better. The part is incredibly well rounded, there's some Mullen-inspired tech, Manuel's day one would be impressed with, and his ability to balance on a ledge with such finesse is fucking ridiculous. His core is more stable than a nuclear reactor. The lines are powerful and his push looks deliberate and determined. He does do a double behind push though. Once was fine, but two has taken the piss a bit, and he does do a double fakie pivot to regular in another line, which is also pretty sus. He does a double flip that I actually like, and he even does a couple of lasers that I don't hate. Not sure if I would have picked the laser for the ender, but you can't win them all. There's some fiddly handrail skating, and some solid gaps were fucked up with some flip trick variations. There's even a tranny clip. The edit goes great to the beat of the song, and in general, it's a super clean and polished skateboard presentation. I'll admit that I'm looking through a nostalgia lens, but this video part should be well studied for generations by philosophers, scientists, and paranormal experts. The following year, MJ comes through in Hot Chocolate, probably the best tour video ever made. It's a dope hybrid documentary / tour / skate video. There's video parts in between tour montages and nice voiceover throughout about going on tour and rider insights from teammates. It's a great concept for a full length that we don't see enough of and really adds a lot of personality to the company and its riders. MJ gets some good park and tour footage throughout before we get to his part. MJ skates to a beaut of a New Order song that ties it together super nicely with his Yeah Right part. The song plays in the background while some inspiring interview snippets are played which build the suspense. Then the song really cranks up and MJ comes out firing with the clips.
It's telling it to do. You can do any trick you really want to. You put your mind to. If you try it long enough, or if you can think of it, you can pretty much do it on a skateboard.
MJ is dripping in elegance and seems to roll with an unmatched sophistication. Even the more basic tricks in this part look so good. I love the shadow on the wall in this line, and the dopey hand flip in a line make you feel like the sesh with MJ must be so much fun. This back 180 nose grind slam is amazing. The MJ steez is in full force again throughout the part with so many good after bank shapes being thrown. The ender doesn't seem so strong, but the top angle is cool, and it ends the video nicely with some Mike York voiceover before finally getting some more insight into Marc's mind. Yet again, Marc and the boys made another part which has stood the test of time and one that I will continue to revisit for the rest of my life. A couple of years go by without a video part from MJ, but news has come to light about a lost Marc Johnsonson part that would have been in Enjoy's bag of suck. Kyle Camarillo said on his 9 Club episode that Marc had a bunch of footage from that time that made it all the way up to a produced video part. Camarillo goes into details on the episode about why it didn't come out in the video, which includes MJ not actually riding for Enjoy, but supposedly the main reason was that Ty Evans didn't want anything to dilute from the massive project he'd been working on with MJ, which is coming out the next year, which is pretty understandable. If whoever does have this video part wants to release it, you'll be guaranteed entry into skate heaven. We all need to see this. And now we've arrived at the crown jewel of skate videos filmed with the VX, Fully Flared, a video that should be studied in film class. This is probably MJ's most notable part, and rightfully so, not to mention the part he became most well known for. The video rocked the skateboarding world in 2007, and MJ closed out a long video featuring a lineup of heavy hitters with the last part. Frodo and Sam had already taken the ring to Mordor and got back to the Shire by the time MJ's part comes on. But boy, is it a fucking part. In fact, it's more than just a part, it's a free song, 13-minute long visual spectacle for all 5 senses. The part opens with MJ in Flavor Country before he starts skating to the Tuck Your Cock Behind Your Legs song from Silence of the Lambs in the first act of the video part. He starts out strong with a hill bomb line and then the clips just keep coming. There's loads of good footage from around the world, most notably a heavy chunk of OG Barcelona spots, which I love. The first act has a lot of single tricks, particularly a lot of bank tricks with a few lines dotted around. The climb up the loading bay has some Jason Dill vibes, and the nollie back free to the fakey front free line at Martin Place in Sydney show how you can turn some suspect tricks into something beautiful. There are some proper illegal tricks in this though. The shove it underflip and the cannonball, what the fuck? And I always wondered how this manny back lip made the cut. The first act ends with a straight nollie flip over a bump to table, and the second act is initiated with a good nutcracker. Marc then shows off his injuries and his new Michael Jackson glove. And shamo! The second act of the video begins with MJ skating to Beat It by Michael Jackson. Just kidding. He skates to a melancholy electro clash number that feels very mid-2000s. The second song accompanies just over a minute of manny tricks, which leads into some well-rounded single trick clips on a bunch of different spots. I will say there's a good amount of tricks in the first and second act that could have been done a little better. Maybe this is the result of the endless skate trip and overworking himself for this video part, but there's some sloppy makes in this which we didn't see in his last few video parts. The way the third act is edited is really captivating. The lavish slow-mo to the song creates a dramatic way to close out the part.
Late last night I was pacing the hallway.
MJ takes some good slams which show his dedication to the project. The nollie backside 540 on a street spot is sick, and the backside flip over the kicker road gap always stood out in my mind. The way he catches the board and lands backwards and then does this little twist thing looks so different to how most people do backside flips. At the time, I remember thinking that Ender was not a good choice because Day One had already done it both ways, and Decker's second to none, but looking back, I don't care at all. It's an epic clip that MJ works super hard for and it ends the video perfectly. There's not many skaters I could watch for 13 minutes straight, but MJ is definitely one of them. It's maybe not my favorite MJ part, but it's always a good watch and makes for a part with a true beginning, middle, and end. It's hard to convey how massive this felt at the time, and it really brings back a lot of fond memories of that era for me. So MJ did it all, and deservedly got the 2007 Skater of the Year award, and probably took a nice bit of time off after Fully Flared. The next few years rolled by without much footage from MJ, but he did get in a video game which is pretty fucking cool. He said in an interview that drinking has started becoming a big problem over the years, and to quote the man himself, "Drinking problems became ingrained in me, and I spent so long checking out that I never checked in, and stayed checked out for a long time." MJ got his shit back together and in 2010 joined the Lakai team on their Voltage tour, and in 2011 jumped in the van with Lakai again on the Ultimate Skate road trip to take part in King of the Road. Marc takes on the book alongside Vincent Alvarez, Guy Mariano, Mike Capaldi, and Daniel Espinosa. Speaking of which, what the hell did happen to Daniel Espinosa? Rumor has it that after Cliche went under, he moved to Barcelona to try and get on Jart and become a real Euro dude instead of just a lookalike. I heard when he was in the Jart warehouse asking for boards, an entire truckload of damn lemons toppled and fell on him, and then he died. Rather than deal with the paperwork, Jart decided to bury him under the old parallel, and that's why you don't see him anymore. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Marc gets some good clips in the Thrasher webisodes, and MJ helps Lakai go on to win the 2011 King of the Road. Congrats. Finally, we've arrived at the video part which sparked this entire look back at MJ's back catalogue. Pretty sweet. Is this maybe the video that killed the full M skate video? Probably. It's crazy to think that this video is 11 years old now. MJ has the third from last part, and this time his clips are predominantly filmed in Southern California. Classic MJ shapes are being thrown everywhere, and I'd recommend watching this part with sunglasses on, because this part shines brighter than Jesus Christ himself. MJ in Super HD is a blessing I didn't know I needed, and he reminds us all he's the GOAT with the clips he gets in this. Check this perfect Mac 10 Bakey 5.0 fakie tray. Jesus! And what about this back nose grind nollie back heel out? Check out how good those shoulders look. I don't know what this guy eats for breakfast, but I want some. There's some solid flip tricks at some hefty gaps, rails get fucked up, and the ledge tricks he gets in this are ridiculous. Who the fuck does front blunt tray flips and make them look this good? He walks a fine line with a couple of clown tricks, but ultimately pulls them off so well that you forget they're clown tricks at all. I would probably cut this back tail 270 shove Manny, but that's about it. The way he can skate in this part is the payoff of so much hard work over the years. You can't buy experience, style, and finesse like that. You gotta be fucking talented, and you still have to put the work in. Making this part a little shorter than it could have been is a good decision, and the extra polishing pays off because this part is a shining example of skateboarding excellence. Not many people can skate to a song like that, but MJ sure can.
Your race, the way that you talk, I kiss you, you're beautiful, I want you to walk. We got 5 years stuck on my...
The edit is squeaky clean, the filming is perfect, and there's not a single sketchy trick. MJ wins himself 5 Academy Awards and an Oscar for this part, and sadly, it's the last full part we get to see from MJ. If this is the last part he puts out, then he most definitely ends on a high note. As much as I'd love to see a new street part from him, he doesn't need to do anything else. He's done enough for skateboarding and has brought so much progression and joy to the culture. So what did MJ do next? The leftover clips from Pretty Sweet dropped the following year in a Lakai online video. It's a solid video part. There's loads of lesser seen MJ clips at his pinnacle of excellence, which is well worth checking out. MJ also started dropping Insta clips in 2012, and then in 2014 started the Back 40 with Kenny Anderson and Chris Roberts. Dubbed a company for a lot of ideas that don't belong anywhere else, the Back 40 made a handful of skate-inspired skits, and some hit a little better than others. The 80s-inspired Locals Only Bro, No Kooks is really fun, except for seeing Johan Stuckey give that poor skateboard gonorrhea. The Ramp Keeper is good, and the future of skateboarding will make you chuckle. The Back 40 finally fizzled out, and around the time it did, Mark's clips from Beeble Skate Park all got put into one edit for our viewing pleasure. MJ skates to the animals and tears the blocks up in the park with his technical prowess. In 2016, MJ decided to jump ship from Lakai and joined Adidas. The change of companies was handled super badly and led to MJ getting the boot from Chocolate and all ties with Crayola Tap being severed. There was a lot of drama and speculation around it at the time, with Mike Carroll straight up calling MJ a liar in a Gen Cub interview. To this, an ex-employee in an online interview is pretty unprofessional and childish, but it does sound to me like both parties were somewhat in the wrong, but I really have no idea what went down. All I know is that hearing about MJ and Chocolate breaking up and coming to the realization that there will never be another Marc Johnsonson times Crayola Tap part hurts worse than when my parents got a divorce. MJ broke the news to everyone in Adidas's video Away Days. He gets a couple of introducing clips alongside Day One. This video has some of the greatest skateboarders of all time in, but still somehow manages to suck balls. MJ gets an entire 2 clips, and that's pretty much the last MJ footage to date. There's a few things of him here and there and a few interviews, including a 9 Club episode with some great insight into MJ's mind. In 2018, he started his own brand titled Business & Company. Not much really seemed to happen with it. Deshaun Jordan was on for a bit, but skates for Toy Machine now. The graphics look alright, and they seem to be selling boards online from their site. In terms of video output, there's no skate clips, but there's a few skits that really miss. One features MJ huffing some magic juice, pretending to trip balls, and puts Christian Dufresne on the team. And then there's another titled Murder Recruit, which is borderline psychotic. They both feel pretty out of touch and lack the same fun that we've seen from MJ skits in the past. I hope Business & Company can make a resurgence, and there does seem to be life restirring over there as they're currently dropping some new clothing. In 2021, the dude behind Memory Screen made an incredible episode of the best of Marc Johnsonson clips over the years. He was inspired by the Transworld, Crayola Tap, and Tilt Mode videos, and made this MJ ode to celebrate him. It's done to perfection, with everything you need to know about MJ highlighted all in one neat place. He reused the Built to Spill song in his Modus Operandi part, the Rolling Stones song in his Tilt Mode part, and this Lady Trong song, which is probably the best idea anyone's ever had. The edit is a wonderful way to celebrate Marc Johnson's illustrious skateboarding career. And that wraps it up. MJ's destruction has crossed 3 decades and his clips are as relevant as ever. Who knows if we'll ever get to see the Lost Bag of Suck part or if he's sitting on a bunch of street clips right now. Either way, MJ has done more for skateboarding than anyone could have asked for and doesn't need to do anything else. MJ is up there with the greatest to ever do it and is a true once-in-a-lifetime skateboarder. No one could ever step in and fill the shoes of Marc Johnsonson. So, on behalf of skateboarding, the world, and the universe, thank you, Marc Johnsonson.
With us, we understand the big picture. So if anyone's busting something out, we're going to be stoked. And on top of that, Marc just thought of that trick and did it. And to do it, get a sequence of it and film it, that's like what we all want to do.
It always has to be something new, dude, or I can't even roll. That's like a problem I have.